Come have a seat and sip some tea. It's tech, entertainment, and art.
Welcome everyone, all you millions of listeners out there. It's me, Abdiel M. You might know me from the super famous old podcast, Age of Apocalypse. I'm back at it with my boy Sean.
What's up?
We're back and we're bigger than ever. I'm just gonna say that right off the bat. So get ready for a plethora of content.
So what
straight to your ear holes.
Let's Abdiel. Let's start with what's the name of this podcast, and what does it mean? And
good question. I haven't even thought about that. Let's see. Out of the top of my head right now, just immediately, Tea Talk Podcast.
Okay.
You're gonna pronounce it Tea Talk Podcast, but it's TEA technically because it stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Art. That's
Beautiful.
where we got the name. I think it's pretty clever. What do you think?
Yeah. So our listeners know that Tea Talk, it's technology, as Abdiel said, entertainment, art, a whole plethora, as Abdiel said, plethora of things that and just so the audience
Correct.
knows, I have a pretty good Abdiel impression.
Oh my goodness. Copyrighted, I believe.
If at any point I break out into the Abdiel impression, it's so good that the audience probably won't be able to tell the difference.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
That was actually me talking.
Exactly. All this time is what I've been doing is like those artists that they make like a whole song by themselves. They record the drums, the guitar, them singing. That's what I've been doing right now. I'm pretending that I'm Sean, but it's really just
it's only one person actually doing.
It's only one person right now.
What's the outline of the show? What is
very good.
It's the first part is what's on your mind. The second
Mm-hmm.
part is what are you up to.
Mm-hmm.
The third is what are you looking forward to, and the fourth, anything you want to add. So miscellaneous section.
Yeah.
Is that
right.
pretty accurate? Does that sound?
That's pretty accurate. I'm gonna add something. This is gonna be like an on and off section that we're not always gonna have. We're gonna have it sometimes depending on my mood, but sometimes I'm going through certain experiences with maybe a movie that I watch or a video game that I play, and I'm like so frustrated. I need to talk about it with someone.
Yeah.
So sometimes I will use it here, and it's gonna be that section is gonna be called tea therapy time.
Ooh.
And
like
we're gonna
that.
have even like a little sound that's gonna come in, and it's gonna be real cool.
Or like a
Real
gong,
cool,
like a
little ding.
gong, like ding.
Yeah, exactly. Something real zen like that.
Okay.
But yeah, like you said it. You great is the show is gonna be divided into 4 sections. Each section is it's a question, and ultimately our answers are gonna revolve around what the show is about: tech, entertainment, and art. Which is, by the way, a really wide net. So
Yeah,
it can be
almost
anything really.
Yeah.
It can be anything.
So should we get into it with so our listeners?
Absolutely. And would you mind starting first? Actually,
Okay, I'll go first.
I'm gonna let you go ahead and start with what's on your mind.
So the first 2 things I want to talk about were, the very first thing is The Mandalorian. If you're not familiar with The Mandalorian, it's on Disney Plus. It dropped like a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. It seems so long ago now that we're dealing with the coronavirus, but
That's right.
The Mandalorian season 1, if you don't know, is it changed the way cinema will be done forever. Now you might have
Absolutely
watched it.
agree.
You might have watched it. I don't know if you watched this, Abdiel. There were some episodes I thought were like maybe filler episodes or whatever. So I thought the writing was good.
Like one, but
just one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was 10 episodes, right? Was it 10?
I believe it's 8 actually.
8. Okay, 8.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the things I want to talk about was some technology that they did or created for The Mandalorian called virtual sets. You can look this up on YouTube. Several people have talked about it. You know, if you see a movie and it's done with green screen, green screen is hard to use. I've never used it. I have my own media company. I've seen people use it. I've watched videos on how to use it. But if you're even in like a full set of a green screen. If someone has a prop, there's kind of green lighting that kind of can reflect off of their clothing. And lighting it takes hours and hours to edit. But they came up with virtual sets. So imagine you have a donut, okay? You know the shape of a donut. And
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. So nothing is inside the donut, right? You're inside of it, and on the outer wall or inner wall of the donut, on the inner wall of the donut, you have a screen that's circular.
Mm-hmm.
And on that
Totally
screen,
get
you
it,
have projected your image.
You mean that it's curved?
Curved.
It's curved,
Yes.
right?
It's curved.
And it's curved like the. How would you say that? Like the curvature it's going like outside, away from the people. The curvature is going away from the people.
It's going away
inside
from,
of
so
it,
it
right?
simulates like a depth of field for the camera. It can project a little bit. So yeah. Anyway, and so
Yeah, it's like those curved monitors, sort of, and curved TVs, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then even on top of them, they have another screen that's flat that simulates like the lighting of the sun and whatever. So now the actors are actually standing inside this like circular dome donut, if you will. Forgive my illustration of the donut. But and they can drop.
Totally understand.
They can drop things wherever they want to. They can redo the set. Inside they can build their own set, and they can change the lighting within that, like basically that building. I think from now on every studio will be building that.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. It sounds like it's a very intuitive way to work, especially for the actors and for everyone in there.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a throwback to those old films where they had the screen in the background like being projected on, and like the actors would be driving, and
yes,
you know what I mean, but way more
Yes.
advanced, way more advanced.
Yeah, we were watching this movie, my wife and I, the other day. I can't remember which movie it was, and they had that thing where they had the background projected,
And you could totally tell it was fake.
and you could like the background was moving like at 50 miles per hour, and they were like walking. It was like, it seemed like, you know how in those movies, in Marvel, they want to make Captain America run really fast, and he looks like really weird, just floating through the screen.
Through the screen.
So that's how they look. That they were just running really fast through the environment. It was amazing. What movie was that? Do you remember?
It was like either Pollyanna or Parent Trap. Parent Trap.
Yeah.
Oh, the Parent
It's no-
I think we were.
Oh, Parent Trap. Parent Trap. That's right.
Yeah, my wife and I were watching Parent Trap, the old Parent Trap, not with like.
That's right.
Lindsay
Not
Lohan.
the new one.
Yeah.
That's right.
Man, that's funny.
Anyway, so that's very interesting. I didn't know that. I should, because I usually like checking stuff like that up. I know that for the movie Oblivion with Tom Cruise,
Okay.
they did something similar, if not the same, but they did something like that where it was like just like you explained it. You know, the inside out donut, and they would reflect or project or the backgrounds in there, and it was
On
like
the
really high
screens.
quality. Or they were using like TVs or something,
Yeah.
like huge or something like that.
Well, the videos I've seen have accredited Jon Favreau with this. Now, obviously, he didn't build it, but like he's been working with Disney, and Disney has like teams of Imagineers, right? And they, they build their stuff, and so with Disney at his disposal, I think my understanding is they kind of pioneered this, but I could be wrong. Maybe somebody else beat them to this several years ago. But
No, Jon Favreau, isn't he great?
yeah. Oh man.
Dude, he's so good. Like everything he touches is so good. Do you see this is a little, I guess it's a controversial for some people out there, but the newest Lion King, have you ever been able to?
I haven't even seen it. I've been meaning to watch it.
Dude, it's really good. I love it. I think it's really good. A lot of people criticized it because apparently it doesn't have as much, I don't know, I guess soul than the cartoon one, because the cartoon one you can get real freaky with the animation and whatever. With the new one, it's meant to simulate. It's not live action, but some people even call it live action because of how real it looks.
Okay.
So the characters move like actual animals, like that are talking, and I think it looks really cool. So the animation is not that exaggerated, basically, but I thought it was great.
So that I think it was in one of the interviews that Jon Favreau did, he mentions, I think it was The Lion King or The Jungle Book, where it was a Jungle Book that took him so long, and it's kind of what led to, I think in The Lion King, they've used technology similar to this, and so when they started with The Mandalorian, they really honed it in, so to speak.
Well, yeah, I don't know if they used the whole donut thing, but what I know that they started doing with Lion King, and I think they did also with the Mandalorian a little bit, is that they did like virtual reality directing, where he would like actually have a headset and he would be on the 3D space and he would move in 3D space inside the movie, basically.
Okay.
The reason they did that, because believe it or not, this is something very interesting. This is what Disney claims. Everything in The Lion King, wait till you watch it because it's gonna blow your mind. Everything is 3D. There's not a single real tree or a single real leaf of, you know, what's it called, blade grass or whatever. Everything is 100% 3D. It's amazing, and it looks. Some of it, obviously, when the animals come, they're talking. Obviously, doesn't look real.
Yeah, because it's not real.
Animals don't talk, by the way, Sean. I've never been to Africa, but I know that lions don't talk.
I've seen enough YouTube videos to know that animals don't talk.
Exactly, and but the environment, dude, it looks real. The ground, the trees, 100% real. But apparently it wasn't. Anyway,
as soon as we're done with this, I'm gonna watch it.
Dude, you should. And it's so emotional. My wife and I saw it in theaters, and we cried, like sobbing, like inconsolably. And everyone in the theater was crying. We weren't the only ones, by the way.
Oh, okay, good.
But what I think we were crying the loudest, though. We couldn't control ourselves. And you know, I'm no spoilers. This is a really old movie. If you haven't seen The Lion King, you're really behind the curve. But we all know what happens in The Lion King. Okay, we all know what happens to Mufasa. Yeah. So anyway, it's really good. The soundtrack is really good and everything's really good. But yeah,
I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I don't mean to digress. But have you seen the documentary? You have Disney Plus, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen the documentary? I think it's called Imagineering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my wife loves that documentary.
Amazing.
Documentary.
Abdiel's got a Puerto Rican accent.
I'm sure they haven't noticed.
Yeah, they have noticed. Yeah, I love it. I love that accent. So, anyway, okay. So now on to my last thing for this is CEO changing at Disney. Robert Iger announced he was leaving. This was, once again, it seems so long ago, but it probably wasn't that long ago. I think a month and a half ago. And Bob Chapek, I think I'm saying that right.
I don't know how you pronounce it, honestly.
Took over now. Now, if you don't know, Chapek dealt with the parks. He was kind of like the guy who, under Bob Iger, saw the parks. And, what are your thoughts on Iger?
On that?
On Iger.
On Iger? Bob Iger? Well, he basically admitted in his book that they ruined Star Wars.
Oh, so he has a book.
He has a book, yeah. He released a book also like a while ago, like 2 or 3 months ago. Apparently it's really interesting. I would like to check it out eventually.
Yes. I want to read that.
And in it, he said that he felt that they rushed Star Wars. Okay. And, he's a CEO of a company. He can't admit any flaws, basically. And so the fact that he said that shows that they know that they messed up a little bit.
Well, okay, I have a lot of...
But it's not his fault, though. It's not his fault.
No. So this is what I was getting to.
That's all I know. That's really all... You asked me what I feel about it. That's really all I know about Bob Iger. Because that's all Star Wars. But I don't know a lot about him. But yeah.
Okay. I don't know a whole lot about him. I've seen, interviews on the Disney Imagineering and other interviews I've seen on YouTube and stuff. By the way, if you guys hear any, slamming, it's us drinking our tea.
Oh, of course. It's tea talk.
Tea talk. But anyway, okay, so back to Bob Iger. I've worked very closely with CEOs in the last probably 6 years. Mm-hmm. And so there's good CEOs and there's bad CEOs, right? And no one likes to work with a micromanager. So I don't think clearly Iger micromanaged Star Wars. Because if he was in control of it, I don't think we would have what we have today, right? But I think he
That makes sense.
he hires people, he delegates people, and he's big picture, right? And so in particular, what I think he did really well was he increased the parks. I haven't gone to a Disney park in like forever.
Dude, I went like 2 years ago. It was great.
Did you see Star Wars Land?
No, we want to go. We're gonna go soon, but we didn't see Star Wars Land, but we saw the. This is not that new, but it's kind of new. The Toy Story Land, because I think that's the thing that they did right before Star Wars Land.
Oh, okay.
They did
I
a
didn't
big
even
Toy
know
Story Land,
Okay.
and it's really nice. It's really cool.
So yeah, like Disney like has like all these like facets and all these different components moving on all at once, right? They have the Disney cruise ships, they have the parks, but like he acquired Marvel, right? Under his tenure, they acquired Marvel, they acquired the rights to Star Wars, like that like that's huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Additionally,
Absolutely.
they did not acquire the rights to Spider-Man, but they were able to work out a deal.
Not gonna happen.
But
they worked out a deal.
But they worked out a deal. They basically
right.
like said, "Hey, we can all make money here." Like if you look at that, like
Win-win.
having people agree to give you things as a business owner is difficult. It's not as easy as people think. Like I think he did a good job, and I think he didn't. Obviously, the new Star Wars movies are terrible, but
Yeah.
I think so. At least that's my personal opinion. But
dude, absolutely.
yeah,
the only good Star Wars in the new trilogy, they don't like really good. It's like the first 25 minutes of Force Awakens.
because you want to know where it's going. Like
Because you don't know where it's going. The
Yeah.
moment that they were like Kylo Ren, son of Han Solo, or something like that, it was revealed like that. I was like, oh, downhill from here.
yeah.
This is done. This is ruined.
But to the point of a good CEO, you allow your employees to succeed or fail. And unfortunately, like I think
Totes.
Kathleen
Totes.
Kennedy failed. I mean, you know,
I like how
I'm sure she's
we
a
were
really
like
nice
talking
woman.
about Bob Iger, and he did a really good job, and Bob Iger, delegator, awesome, and he did a really good thing. Anyway, Kathleen Kennedy, she sucks, right? I like how that went.
I'm sure she's a nice person. She seems like a very nice lady. I don't know how much personal like she was involved with, but like it just the story. There was huge plot holes.
It's such an interesting thing because she's been involved with George Lucas and Lucasfilm for a long time. So at first, well, not at first. I when I first heard about her, I didn't know who she was, obviously, so I was surprised. But after I did some research, I realized that she was I want to say like the obvious choice. I feel.
Yeah.
Apparently, because she was so involved in the production side of things. And that's what basically George Lucas was doing before he sold everything. He was just like a big producer. He wasn't really very in the creative side of things anymore.
And I hope our listeners don't think we're like negative Nellies. Like I am not trying to be negative about like anybody. I've failed at stuff. I haven't. Not everything I've worked on has been good. This podcast, no, I'm just kidding.
That's right. I mean, that was the message of The Last Jedi, right?
That was the whole message.
Feature.
Yeah,
The failure. Maybe the entire Star Wars trilogy is a big metaphor for how you can succeed despite a failure.
yeah, and I'm sure she'll go on to produce something that's great. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Chopek, this new CEO. I am very curious to see what else.
They're
can
both
Disney...
Bobs.
Both Bobs.
They're both Bobs. That's the
My
first
grandfather
name.
was a Bob. Anyway, so anyway, yeah, I'm curious. I don't know what else Star Wars could do with that, but what Disney could do with that. But anyway, all right, now
With what?
Abdiel, with anything. What else can Disney do?
Apart from ruling the world?
Yes.
No, what's interesting? You mean what can Disney do about Star Wars?
No, like in general.
Or just in general?
Just in general, okay, Marvel, for example. They're obviously going to keep making Marvel. As long as Marvel makes money, they're going to make Marvel movies. And I'm a little burned out on the superhero thing, I'll be honest.
Everyone is, dude. I'm so burned out on that.
I mean, I'll still go see it, though. Like, if it's a good movie.
For sure. I mean,
they can
it's
make
kind of like an event at this point.
Yes.
You go see it because you have to, basically.
They can make
Otherwise,
Ant-Man
you're like
movies
out of the loop.
Until Ant-Man can barely walk, and I will still probably watch Paul
Dude,
Rudd
I
as
love
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
I love Ant-Man. But
my wife loves it because it's in San Francisco. We live in San Francisco, and she was born in San Francisco, so she loves everything in San Francisco.
Good. For
Which is great, by the way. San Francisco is awesome. Okay, so great.
As you can tell, Abdiel doesn't really like San Francisco. But what do you think, Abdiel? Do you think what can Disney do at this point? Under a new CEO, fresh start with Star Wars. Mandalorian was great. They seem to be doing really good with the theme parks.
Well, to be honest, that's a really good question, dude. That's a really good question. I actually haven't thought about it. The first thing that comes to my mind is that Disney has not really tapped into the video game market that much. They tried. Oh. They used to have a video game branch. And
really?
They closed it. Yeah.
Like they had their own console?
No. They had their own developer. Their own group of people that were just making games.
Oh, okay.
I forget what it was called.
Did they make like the what's that video game with the Final Fantasy character? Sora?
Kingdom Hearts.
They
were heavily involved in that, but they didn't do any of the actual video game development. All they did, I know for sure they did a lot of voice acting, obviously.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of the production side when it comes to the voice acting. Basically that's it. I don't know if they did any animation. Maybe they did a little bit because some of the animation was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But maybe not. All I know is that they did have like a big, at one point when Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2 were being in development, that was a big, there was a big push with Disney. And I remember even watching the Disney TV channel, and they had like a behind the scenes part on the whole Kingdom Hearts dedicated area that they had. And it was like a big, huge studio, but it was mostly for voice acting and production, because they had to get all of these actors that have been in all of their movies, or get people that sounded like them and manage them and all that stuff. But not really video game stuff. They had they just made a few video games. Like they made like a Mickey Mouse video game. I don't know if you remember that way back. It was like a classic Mickey Mouse video game.
Cool.
Anyway,
I just want to tell our listeners, when Abdiel says video game, he's saying video game.
Video game. That's right. Video game. Video game. But they closed that. And what they're doing now, what's a very interesting rumor is that at one point, Disney was going to, and I think this is a rumor, but I think this is like as corroborated as a rumor can possibly be, is that Disney was going to buy Capcom. Do you remember Capcom?
Oh, I do remember Capcom.
Mega Man, you remember Mega Man, Street Fighter?
Yeah.
They were going to buy them because they made a whole bunch of Disney games back in the day. Disney was just like...
I think I remember this rumor.
Yeah, I don't think it's even a rumor actually at this point, now that I'm saying. I'm not going to Google it right now, but I think it was like a thing. But anyway, so now what Disney's doing is that they are handing out their properties and licensing them out and giving them to developer studios around the world so that they can make games. For example, they gave Star Wars to EA. Obviously, they didn't give it to them. There was some sort of deal.
There was
They worked with Sony for Spider-Man. Even though Sony owns all of Spider-Man.
Sony owns, yep.
100%. But I don't know. But I know Disney was involved. The Marvel studio, they were involved. I think consulting probably mostly.
For like probably story development, right?
Yeah. Because the story was so good. I just finished it during this coronavirus thing. I had the game for a long time and I haven't been able to finish it. But I locked at home, shelter in place, whatever. And so I was able to play it and I finished it. Dude, the story is so good. It's so good.
Okay.
Anyway.
So we're kind of digressing a little bit, but
yeah, we are. So
you said video games. Let's move on. Yeah. What about you, Abdiel?
Yeah, that's what I said. Let's finish that thought. That's the only thing that I think that Disney hasn't really tapped into that much, and maybe that's what they can focus on if they want to like open up a new field or whatever. Another thing that I wanted to say, I just wanted to say this just to put it out there in the ether, is that it's very impressive that I'm an animator by trade, and I say that because I never really worked in a big project, an animation project, but.
Well, you worked for a studio, right? Like a new.
I did work for a studio for a little bit, as a producer, and I worked for the Academy of Arts in the Department of Animation and VFX, but in the Academy of Arts San Francisco. Shout out. So it's very interesting that Disney's pretty much like the biggest company in the world right now, right? Or am I wrong? Or is it Apple actually? I think it's Apple actually.
It could be. I'm not sure.
But anyway,
yeah,
it's like top 5.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Top
they conquer the world through cartoon and animation.
Yes.
That's what they did, which is really impressive. Shows you how powerful animation and cartoons can be. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
What's on your mind,
okay.
Abdiel? What is on your mind?
So what is on my mind? So I'm gonna go ahead a little bit more simpler. I just have one thing, just the one thing. Okay.
Okay.
I'm looking for it.
Oh dear.
I'm looking for my little outline. What did I do? Oh, don't tell me that. Oh, here it is.
We can cut this part out.
No, I think the audience want to hear is when I'm clicking and stuff.
Yeah, looking at it. I just have this one thing. Let me find it, and I'll tell you right now. Oh.
Okay. We'll see how I feel about it after I listen to it. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the PlayStation 5 tech reveal. You probably don't know anything about this.
Me? No, I'm not much of a gamer. I used to be when I was younger, but I've stepped away.
Good for you, man. Good for you. You got bigger fish to fry. So I want to talk about it because it's relevant to the news, the coronavirus news.
Oh.
So PlayStation 5 and Xbox were scheduled, and I say where because we don't know if it's in the past, but we kind of can assume that they're not going to release the consoles this year. They were supposed to release them this year.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
But these consoles are made where everything else is made, right?
China.
And there's a huge problem right now there with that. Even though China's being like, hey, don't worry about it, guys. Totally under controls. No more coronavirus. Done. We're done. I don't know if that's true. So anyway, so they have had they cancel a whole bunch of shows throughout the year that they were going to be in. Not a whole bunch, like 2. And Sony. Anyway, eventually they decided to they were going to go to GDC. GDC is Game Developer Conference. It happens in San Francisco. It's the biggest convention for video game developers. You don't really hear too much about this because it's not like EA. It's not about actually playing games. It's about the business of games. Oh. And it's where the biggest deals happen.
What is this called
in video game?
What is it called?
GDC, Game Developers Conference. It happens in San Francisco at the Matreon every year, once a year. And Sony was going to be there, as they always are in every year, because any big name player in the video game industry is going to be at GDC. So Sony was the first one to cancel because of the corona. And I just want to say, at the beginning, people were like, oh, well, Sony's so stupid bailing out. Everyone ended up bailing out. GDC's canceled. Yeah. It's postponed for next year. So they actually had a little bit of foresight there.
So Abdiel. So what exactly are they doing there? They're like trading games. They're like trading like.
No. This is developers. This is people that make games.
Right.
They're making deals. It's like I have a game. I go to GDC and I get someone to publish my game. That's the kind of stuff that happens all the time.
Okay.
Like I'll make a one level and be like, and there's EA publishers and there's all sorts of publishers and I'll be like, hey, so I live in San Francisco. I got this cool game, and I literally have my laptop in my hand and a controller, and I hand it over to them. That's the kind of stuff that happens at GDC all of the time. Another thing that happens is a lot of networking. You'll sit down on a table to have lunch, and like the director of the Spider-Man game sits next to you. That kind of stuff can happen.
Can we buy tickets to this?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
I'm definitely gonna go whenever I can.
Let me know. I would like to. I think that'd be kind of fun. I'm not even a gamer, but I just like people. I like business. You know,
oh, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm learning a little bit of video game coding myself, so maybe I'll have something someday. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
And like this is the place. Like San Francisco is the place when it comes to like indie development for video games.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so they were gonna go to GDC. They canceled it, and they had a conference that they were gonna do there, right? A presentation where they were gonna reveal the PS5 technical specifications. Specs is French for specifications, by the way. So they canceled. So they were like, you know what the heck? We're just gonna record it, and we're just gonna put it online. They just put it on YouTube. They announced it with time. They gave like a 1 day or 2 day notice. They were like, hey everybody, we didn't go to GDC, but tune in. We're gonna tell you everything about it.
So What did you think the specs were going to be?
So the specs are. We're gonna go straight to the point. Honestly, we're just gonna go straight to the point. There's an IGN. There's a chart that compares the specs of the PS5 with the new Xbox, which is called the Xbox Series X.
Is that released?
Makes no sense, huh?
Is that out? Can I buy it today?
No. You can't buy the Xbox Series X. That's the next Xbox. Excuse me. You wouldn't know because of the name, because the name is atrocious. Xbox Series X. What does that even mean?
Yeah, that's a bad name. That's bad.
But okay, it's a really cool console though. The Xbox Series X is, just to give you like a really quick rundown, 1 minute rundown. It's basically a computer. It looks like a computer. It's actually a tower. It's a tower, so it doesn't look like a traditional console. And it has a lot of state of the art technology in it. It has like stuff like a 4K UHD Blu-ray drive. It has like 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM. It has, and I'm reading from IGN, by the way. I'm reading from this chart that they have. Full disclosure. It has. Let's get to the good stuff, to the stuff that you can actually understand, Sean. It has that.
Sorry, I was zoning out a little bit.
This is a little bit technical. I'm gonna go straight. I'm gonna finish this and get to it. It has the biggest thing is that it has an SSD drive. You know what an SSD is, right?
That's like a big drive, right?
Exactly. So you know how you have your computer has a hard drive disk, right?
Yes. That's usually smaller, correct?
The hard drive disk?
Like the space that it holds is usually smaller.
No, the hard drive is usually bigger.
Oh, than the SSD. Okay.
Than the SSD, yeah. Whatever. And
I'm sorry. I didn't mean actual size. I meant like the SSD can usually on a computer will hold more memory.
No.
Oh, okay. No. Okay.
No. Yeah, I don't know what computer are you using right now?
I'm using my Microsoft Surface.
A Microsoft Surface. Okay, so that has an SSD. So basically the way that it works is that for the longest time, and we're gonna really educate people right now, okay? For the longest time, we've used for computers, we've used, even for laptops, we've used hard drive disk. This is literally a metal disk with a needle that is reading information as the disk spins.
I just found this out like recently.
Yeah, so this is connected to the motherboard. There's a CPU, there's RAM, and all of this stuff it's communicating together.
Yeah.
But the hard drive disk is over here with like an actual metal disk and a needle reading information, like a caveman. And we've had this for a long time, but then came SSD, and SSD is basically a ship. If you look at it, it just looks like a ship.
A ship?
CHIP.
Oh,
CH. I cannot pronounce AH.
I was like imagining like the Millennium Falcon.
People get used to it. You're gonna have to go by the context. A chip. A chip. So it looks like a ship. Anyway.
When you say tortilla chips, what do you say? Do you say
I say tortilla chips. Yes. Oh, okay. I can't pronounce CH. I just can't. But you know what? You all losers out there can pronounce your R's. Can roll your R's anyway. So, I can't. So anyway, so SSDs are way faster than a hard drive disk. Okay, they're more expensive. They're very expensive. SSD means solid state drive, and solid state technology is very expensive. So both the Xbox and the PlayStation are gonna have one from the get-go. But here's the thing, though. The Xbox One is going to be slightly bigger than the one for the PS4. I mean, for the PS5, I'm sorry. The new Xbox is going to have a slightly more capable graphics card than the PS4. And it's going to have a slightly more capable CPU. Really slightly, but still more capable CPU than the PS4.
Interesting. Now, correct me
if I'm wrong. So the PS4 is all around a weaker console. All around.
But normally, like, PlayStation usually produces stronger consoles than Xbox, right?
Yes and no. So the PS2 and the original Xbox came out around the same time. Yes. The Xbox was stronger. Then the Xbox 360 and the PS4 and the PS3, I'm sorry, were released around the same time.
Yeah.
The PS3 this time was stronger than the Xbox.
Okay.
The PS4 and the Xbox One came out around the same time, and the PS4 was stronger than the Xbox One. So, in the times that Xbox has released a console, twice Sony released a stronger console.
Okay.
But now it's Xbox the one that's releasing the stronger console. This is not a huge difference. So, why am I saying this? Because this talk that they released that was supposed to come out in GDC was very technical talk, super boring talk. And it was all just a big PR thing to be like, hey, our console is weaker, but that doesn't really matter. And it's true, by the way. It doesn't really matter. Because it's weaker, but it's not light years weaker. So what people are going to be capable of doing in the PS5 is going to be pretty much the same that people are going to be capable of doing.
Well, the thing too is like, and maybe I sound a little ignorant, but like, what more graphically can they do as far as like, if the screen can't, like if they're watching it on a TV, right? That's a 1080p. Mm-hmm. Even if I'm playing a 4K game, I'm not actually playing a 4K game. Mm-hmm. So I had to have a 4K. I mean, there are 4K TVs out there, and you can watch 4K. But I mean, most people, do they actually play 4K video games constantly?
No, actually, no, not yet. And then they're talking about 8K too, and 8K. No one has 8K, but they're already talking about that too. But you actually mentioned something. You're not really that ignorant. You actually mentioned something. You mentioned a point that is what most people think. You're talking about the resolution of the image.
Yes, I'm
right?
sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And maybe you also can think about how realistic they can get with the graphics or whatever. But here's the thing with video game development. There's a whole technical numbers programming aspect that you don't ever really see or think about games that are going on in the background all of the time. And what happens is this: when it comes to video games, you can be really irresponsible, quote unquote irresponsible, really sloppy when it comes to the creation of the models, because most of the time the people that are doing these models and these characters and this environment that you're seeing, they're artists. They're not engineers. So what happens is that I can make a building that looks amazing, and I only used and use 1 million polygons, right? But someone that is an engineer combined with an artist can come up with the same building that looks the same, but only has 500,000 polygons.
Polygons are
what any 3D model is made up of.
Is it lines of code?
No, it's how should I explain this? It would be much easier if I explain it to you using a 3D program. But basically, if you're gonna make a hand, right, in 3D you can only make straight lines. You can only write straight lines because it's all really not zero. It's all one and zeros, right? It's all code. Yeah. So you can only make straight lines. So how do you make a curve with straight lines? You make a whole bunch of straight lines, right? A whole bunch of little straight lines, right?
Yes.
So imagine. Do you understand that?
Oh, I see.
You got that?
I see. So are the lines polygons?
The lines are polygons. It's a 4-sided polygon. They call them quads. I believe we call them quads if I'm not messing that up. But they have 4 sides or even 3 sides polygons. So it's a line imagine like a little triangle, and there's a whole bunch of triangles. Imagine myself with tiny little triangles all over me so that you can simulate the curvature of my face.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happens is that a more powerful console can allow the artist to be more sloppy, for there to be less engineering, and for games to essentially be cheaper and be able to make faster. That's basically the big
because right now it takes years to develop games, right? It takes years.
Yeah, a long time. Some games have been in development for like 5 years, 6 years. It's crazy. So Mark Cerny talked a lot about that. They talked about development time. That's the big thing that they also want to cut down on. And with a stronger console, like I said, you can make more mistakes basically. Basically it just so you might think, well, video games right now on the PS4 look amazing, but it's really hard to make them look amazing. For the PS5, it's gonna be less hard to make them look amazing. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna have more games that look amazing because it's easier.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So that's a real simplified
version, right? Okay.
Version of it.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. I hope our listeners did too. Yeah,
this is actually what I want to move on to, by the way, eventually in my career. I want to be a a technical artist. So I want to basically what I do right now at the Academy of Arts. I help students with rigging and modeling and animation, but I give them technical help. So for example, if they're trying to rig a 3D model and they rig the arm but the arm is moving funny, I go in it and I say, okay, let me look at your model, let me look at your rig. So I see the problem. You put a joint is the 3D point that you assign geometry to it, and that 3D point can then move that geometry, and then I explain to them what happened, why that joint is not moving the way that they want it to move, and things like that. So anyway, it's fun stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's how I felt about that. That's all I wanted to talk to about the PS5 tech reveal. You can look that up on YouTube if you're interested. And it's really boring, but like I said, it was just PR to calm people down about the fact that the PS4 or the PS5 is going to be slightly weaker. The video game audiences are very picky, and when there's anything like this can make a lot of ripples on Twitter, basically. And it can actually affect sales like big time. It's crazy how impactful little details like that can be to the sales of video game consoles and just the video game space in general.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Abdiel. Some people will only buy a PS3 or a PlayStation, or they're only going to buy Xbox. Like
That's
they're
right.
diehard. Like my father will only buy Michelin tires. Even
Absolutely.
if I could get a cheaper tire, way better, but it has to be Michelin.
Absolutely. Yeah, that happens. There's a lot of customer loyalty. These consoles also have their own ecosystems, and you invest in them. So for example, when you buy digital games on PS4, you cannot carry those game overs to the Xbox, right? So it's
Oh, I see. Yeah.
There's gain to have to stick. You gain something by sticking to the console that you want because you already bought games in that ecosystem.
And they like I can play PS4 games on PS5.
That's a big thing because that's called backwards compatibility. And they did not have that going with the PS4 with the PS3 to the PS4, but they are gonna have it with the PS4 to the PS5. Like
it makes sense.
Like you just
based
mentioned.
on what you said, that makes a lot of sense.
But here's the thing, I guess we have to move on, but Xbox is crazy because they're going to have backwards compatibility going all the way back to the original Xbox. Like you can actually pull out an original Xbox disc and put it on the Xbox, the newer Xbox, and it's going to run. There's no way that's going to happen with the PS5, even though everyone wants that. That's actually what I want. I'm a big PlayStation guy. If they come out of the bat and they're like, hey, everybody, don't even worry about it. You're going to be able to play PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5 games on the console. Good to go. I'll buy that day one, bro.
Don't they back up the files now, like on servers and stuff? Like
absolutely, they can do it. There's no reason why they can't do it. There's
why
so
would
many
you
ways.
even need a disc?
You don't even need it. That's the thing. You're actually thinking the way you're supposed to be thinking. With the Xbox, you don't really need the disc. The only reason why the Xbox wants you to put in the disc is so that it knows that you have the game. Yeah. But then what the Xbox does is that it downloads it on the background and runs it on an emulator on the background.
Is it even using the disc?
It's not even using the disc. But it wants the disc to be kept inside the Xbox because that way...
Almost like you have copyrights.
Exactly. Because if I can just pass that disc around, then they don't sell any more discs, right? Yeah. So they want to know that they want you to keep that disc.
I see. Okay, we should probably move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on. So,
what are you up to? Do you want to go first, Abdiel? I went first last time.
Okay, let's. What am I up to? I'm gonna start. Now we go to the next section. What are you up to? What am I up to? So right now I'm looking into learning pixel art and pixel animation. Pixel animation is more like 3D animation, traditional animation, I should say. And I don't know. I have like zero experience, very little experience with traditional animation.
Is there coding involved?
Not at all. No.
Is it just like artistry?
It is just it's just like drawing and drawing the same drawing over and over again to get that animation.
To move
to move the character. Yeah. So basically, if I want the character to like drink the cup, I have to make one pixel art like this, one pixel art like that, one pixel art like that, one pixel art like that, and then you play them all together and it looks like that.
You know, I've always wondered. I've played around with like drawing and stuff, and flipped a book. Mm-hmm. how close do you have to get the movements for the eye not to notice that it's not moving properly?
Super, really good question, bro. You're a savvy guy. Let me tell you right now. These are the questions. These are the good questions. A lot. So traditional animation is 24 frames per second.
Yes.
So if you want a movement that takes a second, you have to draw 24 drawings to make it look realistic, essentially. That's not entirely true. I'm really simplifying things here. That's not... Well, there's ways to play around that. There's actual techniques that you can use to fool the eye. But that's the big names, the Disney, Studio Ghibli, when they did traditional animation, this is what they would do.
Oh, can I stop you real quick?
Absolutely.
So, I saw on a documentary with Spider-Man, the cartoon, Spider-Verse or something like that.
So good, dude. So good.
They did the animation on
twos.
So every was it millisecond, I guess, or every 24 frames, I should say, no, it's not milliseconds, frames, right? The second frame is when the character moved.
Correct? That's right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So the background would move on ones, but the character was moving on twos. That's what they did.
Yeah.
And I guess they said that eventually they actually started animating him on ones too, so that he would look more fluid and like he would look like he knew better what he was doing. He was more confident.
Oh,
but yeah.
So it was like almost like a staccato, musically, like like.
Yeah, because the idea was for him to make him look more sloppy and like he's not fitting well in the picture. Eventually, he fits better. What's interesting about that is that they actually animated that movie twice, if you can believe it or not. They animated it in 3D and they actually animated it in 2D also.
Really?
And they would add some of that 2D on top of the 3D to make it look like interesting. To make it look kind of like a 2D animation, because the thing with 2D animation is that you can get some really cool stylized animation. Mm-hmm. That 3D, you can get 3D stylized animation too, but 3D is always going to look like a little bit more fluid than 2D. So they wanted that 2D aesthetics, which I love, by the way. I love 2D animation. I prefer it better than 3D, but it's hard. Okay, so I'm into that, and what I'm doing is that I'm researching tools to do pixel art. I have Photoshop. I can use that, and it works pretty well. But there's two other apps that I was looking into. One is called getpaint.net, or that's where you get it, and I think it's called paint.net. And it's like a glorified Paint app. Every Microsoft computer has a Paint, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So this is like a step over that. That one is free, and you can do really nice pixel art with that. And then the other one it's called Asprite, and it's $15, which is not expensive at all. And it's an app that the user interface, it's all designed in sprites. So the app looks like a Super Nintendo game, Sprites, like when you click on file.
What are sprites?
Oh, okay. So it looks like pixel. I'm sorry. The UI is pixelated.
Oh, okay.
The UI of the user interface
it's on purpose.
It's on purpose. It looks pixelated. So the app is made for you to is focused on pixel art. But what I thought was really cute is that the app itself, the UI is pixelated as well.
Okay.
So it looks like it looks like a Super Nintendo game, or basically. But that one, it allows you to do animation and create layers and a whole bunch of stuff with the pixel art. In pixel art, and it has tools to simplify that. You can do all of that 100% on Photoshop, and I already have Photoshop.
Is that how you're going to pixelate our podcast?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because I'm looking for some. Huh?
How long will that take you?
That's not going to take me a long time. So for our first episode, when people see it on YouTube, it's already going to be there. However, the question is how much animation there's going to be. There might not be a lot.
Yeah.
What I'm going to start with. Yeah, what I'm going to start with is just actually a pixelated picture of us. And I'm going to have that ready, right? And then I'm going to start working in the animation. And I have a deadline for myself for when this episode is going up. If by the time that deadline comes up, I finish the animation, then we're good to go. I'm going to put it on. But if I haven't finished the animation by the time the deadline comes, I'm still going to put the episode on, and I'm just going to put that one pixelated still. And then maybe for a second episode, then it's going to have the animation. So that's the plan. And I'm gonna keep working on that too. By the way, you know, if we continue doing this, which I think we will, a year from now, it's gonna be like a really cool pixelated animation. You know,
Yeah.
depending on how things go. But yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm up to.
So what I'm up
What
to,
about you?
I recently passed my recertification for my drone license. As I
Dude.
mentioned, I have my own media company, so I have a drone and I fly for construction companies and other businesses. But anyway,
We're gonna plug you in, bro. We're gonna plug you in your company.
I'm,
We're gonna put it in the
I'm
description.
shameless. I'm shameless. But
Absolutely.
the
No, I'm serious, dude.
I just wanted to go over two quick things. It's going to be super brief. There's less questions than the original test, and there's a fewer topics covered. So what I'm saying is you, if you want to get your drone pilot license, you have your 60 question Part 107 test from the FAA, right, which is a federal institution. When you pass that, then you can get paid for jobs and stuff like that. Now that expires after 2 years. You go in your
Question. What
yeah.
do you mean that you can get paid for jobs?
Like if I buy a drone
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have that license, then I'm in trouble.
Then if I give you money, you're just gonna be like, no, I can't take it.
I mean, I guess I'm sure there's ways around it, and the FAA is probably not tracking all this stuff, like, really. But I have seen videos on YouTube where people do get pulled in and, you know, questioned, or they get phone calls or what have you. But like if I did a wedding, if I shot a wedding, and during that wedding, they wanted drone shots dropped in the video.
Mm-hmm.
They paid me for that. Technically, that's illegal.
Oh wow!
Anyway,
wow, I did not know that.
But
we're serious about that. We're serious about that in this podcast. Don't do illegal stuff.
Don't do illegal stuff. No, don't do it.
Okay.
But anyway, I was just saying maybe in the future podcast in the comment section, if you want me to go more in depth onto what was covered in the test, what to look for.
I have a
can
few
talk
questions
about that.
actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Can I ask you? Do you think we have time?
Sure. If you can animate all this, then.
Yeah, we'll see how that's gonna play out. Well, I'll do it. Okay, so how much is the exam?
It varies. Some places have it. You have to take it at like a testing institution. Like my first time I took the test, I took it at an airport, a little airport.
Okay.
And there, yeah, it was like it was weird. I had to walk up like 4 flights of stairs, and it was like on top of a tower. There's a computer there, and they take your phone, they take everything. You have like a locker. You have to take all your stuff. The test is, I think, $75. I think, something like that.
Okay, that's not bad. So all in all, you pay $75 for the certification.
Yeah, as long as you pass, obviously.
Do you have to fly a drone to pass? Or
No,
is it just
you could.
a written test?
It's a written test, and honestly, a lot of what's covered in the first test really does not. It has very little to do with actual drone piloting. Most of what it has to do with is like understanding how to read these charts that pilots use and rules around airports, which if you don't know, it's illegal to fly a drone around an airport. 5 miles, you can't fly it without ATC authorization. But ATC stands for air traffic control, which I've had to get before. I called one airport and they let me fly my drone. But what was the question again? Did I answer your question?
No, yeah. The question was that if you actually need to know how to drive, how to use a drone to get are they gonna test you on your skills?
No.
So I could be like, I have no idea how to use a drone. I'll be like, I want a certification, and I give them $75. I pass the test, and then I can fly in a drone.
Yeah, and there's actually several people on YouTube who they kind of offer like things on how to pass the test, and I've watched.
Dude, you should do that.
Times.
You should make a tutorial on that.
Yeah, I mean they have good tutorials.
Let's upload it.
Let's do it.
Let's upload it.
But yeah,
okay.
And then now, what are we looking forward to? Right, our next section.
Yes. What are you looking forward to, bro?
Okay, this podcast. I'm pretty excited. I think the idea of the show. I'm looking forward to having guests on the show. I think there's a famous quote, and it goes like this.
Hit me.
If not us, then who? If not now, than win. And so the idea behind I could be misquoting it. I could have just made it up. No, it is a famous quote. It sounds legit, right? Well, the idea is that, like, I think this is going to be a fun project. I could foresee it having some measure of success. So, if not us, then who? If not now, then when?
I love it. I like it. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that this podcast is going to be a outlet for creativity, and if not anything else, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's cool. It's going to be a cool hobby, and who knows, maybe we'll be able to make some money on the side. For people that are, I'm actually gonna segue into something that I wanted to talk about in the beginning, and I didn't. So I'm just gonna say that right now about what people can expect from this podcast. What do you think about that?
Sounds good.
So once this podcast starts being uploaded, I'm not gonna tell you when that is gonna be, but you're gonna know because you're gonna be hearing it, audience. And it's probably gonna be on the 6th of April, the first that it's gonna come up, and then it's gonna come up every 2 weeks after that, and it's always gonna come up. You can always count on it to be up there. We're not gonna miss a date. That's our promise to the audience. The other thing is that it's a family friendly podcast. So yeah, so you can listen to the podcast feel free to listen to it with your children, with your spouse, with your grandfather, with your mom, with your dad. We're not going to embarrass you in front of everyone. Okay. The other thing is that we're not really going to talk about necessarily the news. We're going to be more curators than anything else. But if something is big, it's important for T, for those 3 letters and what those letters stand for, we are going to mention it, but we're just going to probably specify that we don't really know much any more than the whatever remarkable achievement it did, because it's just not our cup of tea. So that's basically a little bit of what people can expect. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, can I go to the 4th part? What do we want to add? Anything?
Yes. Let's just jump into the 4th part. I was gonna talk. Let me just mention real quick the 2 things that I'm looking forward to, because I haven't told.
Oh, I'm sorry, Abdiel.
Yeah. So, but I'm not gonna talk about it too much. One is the new Tom Hanks movie Greyhound. I don't know if you've seen the trailer.
Like about the buses? Is it
no? Well, I know that's the first thing that I thought too, but no, actually, Greyhounds apparently back in the day were also like, oops, I hit the thing. Like ships. It is a World War II movie, and it's about Tom Hanks is the captain of a whole bunch of ships, and he's going to Europe with a whole bunch of soldiers, and they're as they're going through Europe, they're being hunted down by Nazi submarines, which I think the Nazi submarines are the Greyhounds actually.
Oh, okay.
And so they have to like survive this like onslaught of Nazi submarines attack. That's what the movie's about. So anyway, so it's Tom Hanks. It's World War II, recipe for success. And the other thing that I'm looking forward to is VR. I haven't invested on it yet. I'm waiting to see what Sony is gonna do with the PS5. They are gonna release a PSVR 2, and so I'm really looking forward to that. But let's move on. I'm not gonna talk about that too much. Maybe we'll talk about it more some other time.
Yeah.
So the last part, miscellaneous. This is what you want to add. That's this section. And then eventually this section will become we're gonna answer reader questions or reader mail eventually, but for now we don't have any reader mail, so we're just gonna talk about whatever we want. Okay, what do you want to say, John?
I was just saying stay healthy, eat good food. I know everyone's worried about the coronavirus and all that, but you don't need bags and bags of Top Ramen. Don't do it. Just don't do it. I don't know, my wife went to the store the other day and it was like gone. Everyone was waiting for Top Ramen and toilet paper.
Oh
now,
my goodness.
You don't need toilet paper for the coronavirus. But if you're going to eat Top Ramen all day, you probably do need some toilet paper. So maybe people have figured this thing out. The veggies aren't touched. No one's touching the veggies. Nobody.
Yeah. But you know why that is though, right?
I know why it is, but I don't agree. I think it's You need veggies. There's a
Totally.
reason it's perishable, and if something's not perishable, it probably shouldn't go to your body.
Probably.
In great quantities. In great quantities.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, eat good food, get some exercise, go for a walk. That's all I wanted to say.
That's good. That's good. We need to do all of that during these uncertain times. You need to continue to do that. It's tempting to stay home, but and eat ramen. It's very tempting. By the way, we don't. I mean, we do eat ramen every once in a while, but the good ones, you know, the ones from the Korea market.
Yeah.
The Korean market. But yeah, that's good. But you're mentioning that especially in reference to the coronavirus, right? Or just
yes, yeah.
You just wanted to
I
say
mean, that applies all the time. But,
yeah.
I'm not preaching anything, but I'm just saying, hey, eat good food.
No, bro, absolutely, absolutely. I think that food has come a long way. And no, in all seriousness, being able to get good food, it's easier now more than ever.
Yeah.
And if you eat good food, you will live longer. And if you live longer, then you can watch more movies and play more video games. So, I mean, that's easy math right there.
That's super logical.
Yeah.
What are you looking for?
Okay, so
or what do you want to add?
I don't really have anything to add. I thought about it.
And nothing. Beautiful. We should just cut the podcast right here. Boom. Cut it.
Boom. Let's just cut it right here. So, okay. So this is the end of the podcast. Thank you everyone for listening. And so a little bit of, I don't know how you call this. This is housekeeping. I don't know what it is. But anyway, so for everyone out there that wants to keep in touch with what we're doing, if you know, because when you listen to the podcast, it's going to end and then you're going to think about, oh my goodness, Abdiel and Shannon are not speaking to me anymore through the podcast. What can I do with my life until the next? I have to wait 2 weeks until I get the next episode. What am I gonna do? So please feel free to follow us in Instagram. There we are. It's really easy to remember. It's T Talk Pro. No funny business. No underscore. No capital letters. T Talk Pro. In Twitter. I'm sorry, in Instagram. For Twitter is @Talk Productions. Also, straightforward. Capital T, capital P, @Talk Productions. I was impressed that no one had that name on Twitter. Talk Productions.
Yeah, that seems like a very, yeah.
Anyway, so it's ours.
We got it. Here you go.
Hopefully, if this is not successful, maybe one day they'll get in contact with us and be like, hey, I'm going to pay you $1 million to get that name.
I can see that happening. That's probably a better shot than this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, you can email us at ttalkproductions@gmail.com. And finally, and this is the big one, Patreon. If you want to support us financially, you can go to Patreon. There you will find us. It's TEA Talk Productions. And right now we don't really have any perks to give to people if they contribute with us. Eventually we're gonna give perks, but right now it's just basically like a donation system that we have on. So if you want to donate, and make sure that quote unquote donate is, you know, you're being a Patreon, and make sure that this content keeps on coming and maybe we can improving, so you can definitely support us there at Patreon. All this information is gonna be also in the description of the video below, so you don't have to go to the internet and replay the podcast and wait until I say what I just said to visit us. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
Okay, man.
We're gonna hit stop.
So yeah, recording. So thank you everybody. See you in 2 weeks.
Toodles.
We're sad to